Welcome to Talking Football in the Sly Fox Tavern. This is the opening night of our podcast that I'm doing because I'm bored out of my mind. I miss hanging out with my buddies and going to the bar and having a beer and talking football. So what I'm doing, I'm inviting coaches on to come into the Sly Fox Tavern and talk a little football. And tonight our first special guest is the head coach of Alion College, Dusty Beurer. And Dusty, welcome to the Sly Fox Tavern, man.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
We're going to have a good time tonight. I got to tell you, my first question is this. I got some background on you from, one of my assistant coaches who's an Alion College grad. And the first question is, Dusty, how's a 5'9" guard from Deerfield, Blissfield, or Blissfield, Deerfield make his way to be the head coach of Alion College?
Well, it's Britain, Deerfield, right? So we're two small towns that had a consolidated football program. I remember watching Alion in the national championship game in 1994. There was a guy from Britain on that team, so that kind of made it a local story for us. Guy from Dundee was on it. Was also our D-line coach. So There was some local ties there. My sister went to Alion. That was the reason I didn't want to go to Alion. I was like, there's no way I'm going where my sister goes to college in a small school. I grew up in a small town with 2 blinking red lights.
Nothing wrong with that, Dusty. I'm a Frankie fan.
Yeah, no doubt. And there isn't. Looking back, I think it molded me in some ways, right?
Yeah.
We had a lot of success as a team out of high school. I think in high school we lost 3 games total. We were we lost in the regional finals my sophomore year. We lost in the semis my junior and senior year, came up short. Had the opportunity to come to Alion and play. Then how I got into coaching, I initially wanted to go into politics, right? And now I'm a college football coach, and it's about the same damn thing sometimes. But I got hurt early in my career. I had 2 shoulder surgeries back to back in college, one out of high school, and then my position coach in college and our head coach Craig Rundle, and then Dave Arnold was my position coach, who was around the block. They asked if I wanted to be a student assistant, so I just started doing odds and ends, breaking down film, doing that thing, and that became my next passion, or my dream was to be a football coach. I was like, man, how cool would it be to be the tight ends coach at a MAC school one day where no one knows who you are after the game and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's obviously changed in football too. Everyone knows you nowadays.
Everybody knows you.
And from there, I coached. I got my teacher certificate, did my student teaching at Harper Creek High School in Battle Creek, and coached here that fall. I did the tight ends and tackles, assistant offensive line, and Paul Shadell was our O-line coach at that time, who had been around the block also as a former D1 head coach. Yep, was at Michigan with Bo, head coach at Ball State.
Yes.
So I learned a lot from him as well. And then from there, I went to Morehead State University in Kentucky. I coached, did centers and guards my first year down there as a graduate assistant. I got the big, $6,000 promotion the next year to restricted earnings, and did tight ends and the fullback running back position. We were in the run and shoot there. And then after 2 years there, I got hired back at Alion as the recruiting coordinator, running backs coach. The next year I was the O-line coach. Then within a year of that, I was the run game coordinator, assistant head coach. Coach Rundle just kept empowering me, giving me more responsibility. Then the next thing you know, your goals change. I became an offensive coordinator in 2013. We learned how to install the spread with Noel Mazzoni stuff, and kind of started building into our own after that, doing it for a few years, learning other places. And then once I got Coach got towards the end of his career, I started interviewing for head jobs after the 2011 season. And a lot of things were about fit and being in the right position. Had a couple offers after our 15 year, and we had a kid. It wasn't a great time to move. And maybe it was a combination of being in the right place at the right time, having the right connections as well, but also having a little bit of success while we were here.
Excellent. I got to tell you, you're not the first coach that was going to go into politics. There's a there's a big time coach in the prime time that was an assistant on the Gary Hart campaign back in the 80s. You know who that is?
I do not.
Brian Kelly,
No
Boston
kidding.
guy. That's what I've been
Yep.
told.
Yep.
So, all right, man. Tell me, want to talk a little football tonight? You're scoring points. You're a spread guy. You started off as an end zone guy. Well, no, I've known that for a while. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're spreading off and doing some other things. Tell me right now, Dusty, share with us a concept, man, that you think is really good or something you think is really good you're doing at Albion College.
I
Talk us
think,
through it.
with our base run schemes, obviously inside zone, and then we run a bunch of variations off of that inside zone. So we can go split zone. We can do it out of 11 personnel. We can run it out of read zone with 10 personnel. We can throw the keys and the bubbles on the perimeter with that stuff. Then you bring in 11 personnel. Do different tags where you're locking it and throwing second level reads. We've also gotten into a lot of the third level read stuff as well off of that. And I think, if we can't run inside zone, our offense isn't going to be what it is. Now, I do think you can run any run scheme you want with that, but we're mainly an outside zone team. We're going to install counter. We're going to install power. And we pull those out of the bags of tricks for teams that we think that they're going to match up with. But inside zone is going to be our bread and butter. We want our guys to be able to do that in their sleep, fix the problems throughout the game on their own, on the fly, to the point where there's very little communication. They know what each other's thinking, know when to time up coming off blocks. So that's what we major in. I think that's what we do a great job with.
Let's talk about that for a little bit, Dusty, because, we've been we're into the RPOs and we're throwing at the second and third level and those type of things. Are you doing anything on that opposite side with some man beaters or stuff like that?
Yeah, usually we'll either have a screen out to that side as a pre-snap deal. We can run that third level choice route with any of the three receivers that aren't a part of our blocking scheme out there, just based on what we're seeing where they're trying to commit an extra defender into the run fit. That's what we're going to try to take advantage of off of that. We can run variations with we call it pick, where it's the quick arrow and a hard release by our number one receiver out there, and then he's going to block and protect that. If it's not a guy that's going to be great catching a screen, making people miss, he's going to catch the ball and get his big body going and getting us 3 to 4. The big thing that we're really trying to stress at all times is, when we start a series, it's all about getting plus yards to start the series. You want to get the drive started, right? We want to be positive. And that, we're talking about with our guys 4 yards per play. Think 4 to 6 yards, 4 to 6 yards. Once we get that first down, though, we can start cruising. So it starts with the first play. It's getting the first down, and let's roll. So
I think that's so big when we talk tempo. We talk about series starters and trying to get the first down. It's almost like every series becomes like 2-minute drill. If you get the first down, everything else seems to take care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and that's the big thing. Like, winning on first down is so huge. Like, I probably didn't stress it enough when I first took over. I didn't know what I didn't know. You're learning, you're going through growing pains, and now we really just stress, that first down positive. Whether it's 2 yards, now you're at 2nd and 8, and you got different play calls at your disposal to get that 8 yards, right? You get 4 yards the next one. Boom, now you're at 3rd and 4, you're at 3rd and manageable. So, and we've really tried to take advantage of field position, and I probably taken over last year, gamble a little bit more. We're going to go for it on 4th down a lot, because touchdowns win you games, right? Field goals are good, and they've won us some games in the past, but staying on the field and getting touchdowns are huge too as well.
I think I think sometimes you got to pick your ground, and I always laugh because sometimes you got to just make that choice. This is when we're either going to win or lose the game right here. And sometimes
right
on 4th down, I agree with that totally.
Right, without a doubt.
Tell me when you're installing and you're trying to go, how fast are you guys going right now, Dusty?
It depends. We have our different tempos. Obviously, you have when we signal in the full play. That's a tempo for us. We have 2-word tempo where we can the 2 words are your formation and your play, and then we got the one word where it's everything in one. So there's about 3 different tempos that we mess with. We're trying to snap the ball no less than 20 seconds on the play clock most of the time. You know, we very rarely do a check with me or look tempo at the sideline unless it's a team that gets, you know, our whole goal is we don't want to play, like Noel used to say too, right? And a lot of coaches don't play defense on offense, right? That's attack.
I have a question for you. Have you ever been down to the national clinic, the AFCA?
Yeah, I've actually gone, I think, every year since 2004, with the exception of last January. We had my son was born, so my wife could have gone in labor at any time. I actually had to leave the high school coaches association clinic. Sorry, my kids are out here, coming to see
That's
me
fine.
real quick. The high school coaches association clinic in Lansing last year on a whim because my wife called me and she said, I think things are about to start rolling. So that was the only year I've missed. But every other year, I love to go down to that.
All right, I'm going to pose some mythical questions for you, Dusty.
Yes.
You're at the AFCA, and you're going to have a beer with anybody who's there. Sit down, have a couple of beers, talk football, talk life. Who you pick?
Man, it's just one person.
One person.
Okay. Let's think here. Man, I wish I could answer this really fast. I've always liked, you know what? I got to know a guy, Dave Marsh, who was a GA for Noel.
I know Marsh.
He's one of my favorite guys, and whenever we're able to go see each other, I think that is we always come out with something from one another. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like to me, and he's just he's a fun dude to hang out with.
Dave's about as good of a dude as there is in the business.
He's awesome. So, and we keep in contact over the phone still, and between text and calls whenever we can. So I would say in the last probably 6 years or so, Marsh has been one of my favorite guys to get together with because it always involves someone else getting linked up with us as well. That's why, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we're all, nobody would know us if we put our name on, our face on the internet without a name. It's all guys like that, but it's everyone who's been around great football minds, and y'all have ideas. So
I got to tell you, you're going to be up there with all the great internet names now, Dusty, because you're going to.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Thanks tonight, baby. Let me roll this by. You're at Albion College, and there's a lot of people out there maybe who Albion has great tradition and great history. Okay. You remember Sesame Street? You watch that with your kids?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's play a game called Which One of These Things Doesn't Belong? All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Burley Frazier Sr., Pete Schmidt, Dusty Beurer. I'm just kidding you.
I don't belong with those two by far.
Dude, I got to tell you what. Those are two of the greatest dudes that were in the state of Michigan for football, not just football guys, but people. And I didn't get to know Pete real well, but I got to know Morley really well when I was in Milford because his daughter shared a gym with me when she was teaching here, and his grandkids were all there, and his one grandson was, I think, an All-American at Albion in track.
Yep.
David.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's quite a thing. Tell me a little bit about, Albion College and recruiting and that kind of thing. Give you a little plug here for you guys.
I think one of the positives is, like you said, we do have a great tradition, but I think that's for kids nowadays. They don't look at the tradition side of things as much anymore, right? I think that gets your foot in the door a little bit. Oh, they see championships and things like that. I think the one thing that we've done great as a school, an institution, is making it an affordable institution. I don't think we were always that way. They're making it affordable for a lot of different backgrounds now, the low-income kid to the high-income kid. I think the other great thing is facilities. Guys like to see good facilities. They want to see new things. We've upgraded things since 2011 when our new athletic director, he's not new anymore. He's been there 9 years. It's flown by. We've had field turf, 2 new surfaces put in. We've had a video scoreboard, lights, brand new locker room, new weight room. And then now because of the Sarah family, they're adding another $5 million addition onto the front of the Dow Center as well for fitness. So those are the things kids look at. The next one, which should be the most important, and I'm not so sure it is anymore, is the academic reputation and the outcomes you get from the degree. So to me, Albion offers, great facilities, great academics, a great tradition. And then on top of that, what I always say sets us apart, because there's so many A schools, everyone's like, oh, aren't all the MIAA schools the same, that type of thing, are the people. I think Albion College, you have a couple on your staff right now.
Dude, you're like the only Albion graduate that I haven't hired.
Hey, I know. How about that? So I think Albion is all about the people. You're going to build lifelong relationships. You're going to have people that have your back over the net. Everyone says, it's 4 years for the next 40 to 50 years of your life. I think that is true.
I'll tell you, I know I've been at 2 schools that have huge Albion contingencies in them, at Milford and at Notre Dame Prep. And you're right. You guys are tight. That's pretty cool. Let me ask you a question here. Game's changing around. Sometimes I think I'm becoming the angry get off my lawn guy. Okay.
Right.
Give me I'll give you one for me. Okay. Things that piss you off in football. Okay. Here's one of my favorite ones. I hate the term culture. Okay. When people throw that around, I hate that. And I hate kickers. Julian, I like you, but I hate kickers. What type of things just piss you off in football, Dusty? You got 30 seconds. Let's roll, baby.
One of them is people complaining about the RPO and the evolution of offense. That pisses me off. I dislike when defensive people can get a running start and pick your lineman. I hate that. I mean, if you're complaining about all the things that we're able to get,
that's a good thing on it. We like to do that with some stuff. You get the tag.
Yep, yeah.
We like to pick the tackle in a stunt and loop in behind and knock his ass off the zone block. I like that.
Yeah. Inconsistent officiating, that pisses me off more than anything you could ever imagine.
In Division III, is anytime you're near. I mean, if you're coaching defense and someone runs a takeoff, if you're anywhere near touching the kid, they drop like 4 flags.
You'd be shocked, man. It's different. Every crew has their idiosyncrasies, right? So I will say, and this isn't a shameless, but Mark Ewell does an awesome job with our officials. Overseeing the officials in our conference. I think the one thing, and you're seeing it in high school, is there's such a shortage of officials as well, right? So usually if there's a really good one, you're not going to see them much longer, right? They're getting called up and they get moved up. But we've had some consistency in our league, and I love you end up building relationships with those guys too.
I try not to learn their names. If I know their names, something bad's happened.
Yep. I understand that.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a serious question now. I've had buddies who've been head coach in Division III. Mm-hmm. How much pressure do you get on you to recruit numbers for the school opposed to athletes?
I think one of the things I was always looking for in a head coaching job was a place that didn't use you to drive the enrollment, okay, on the roster. And there are some that do, and Albion's not one of those. Yeah, we're fortunate that, hey, I have 122 lockers, right? Yep. They want me to fill that, but that's usually what you need for a full football roster anyway, correct? So, like going into this class, we probably only needed about 35 guys, and that was the number they gave me this year. Hey, fill your roster. You know what I mean? So I'm very fortunate. So there are plenty of D3 schools that are like bring in 160, 180, 200. I'm not one of those. If I had 140 lockers, maybe I would bring in 130 to 140, but I don't think the relationship building side of things. I know you hate the word culture. I think culture's been around forever. It's just kind of been it's the popular word now, right?
It's always
been. Yep.
I've always felt either you got a good situation that's getting better, or your place is a dumpster fire.
Right. And we're fortunate here. Like, I think the 122 mark for us, we're able to create relationships. That's what it's about, right? You're going to get that culture word by developing relationships. Okay. The kid wants to know that you're invested in him for real, not just winning football games. And the one thing that we've been really trying to do on our staff is find ways to get guys from different position groups with other coaches, under them, whether it's academic, life meetings. We just want to know how our guys are doing. And then this pandemic's really thrown that for a loop. The last, 6-7 weeks was calling the 90 returning guys I have on our roster. I FaceTime them, timed each one, for about once a week, and it might be a quick conversation, but I'd get some MTV Cribs tours. I didn't go to all their houses to recruit them, right? So I get to see what exotic pets they have and all that kind of stuff. So that was cool.
We're doing Zoom workouts with our kids. We just got done before we came on. And, we'll get like 45, 50 kids. And you'll see where they're working. I have one kid, his mom won't let him in the house, so he's got to work out in the driveway. I think it's hysterical.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is. It is. Dusty, I got one more thing for you, and I want to make sure I touch on this.
Okay.
I'm pretty blessed at Notre Dame Prep in the fact that my parents are pretty good. My parents are really good. And what I mean by that is, I don't deal with a lot of the hocus pocus a lot of people do. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've been able to, build trust with our parents over the course of time. They trust me for the most part, I think. You deal with much parents at the college level? And
you do, I think. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think starting with the parent side of thing, you do. And like you said, though, like you build a relationship with the players, you got to try to do the same thing with the parents, right? And you set boundaries, right? Hey, these are things I will talk to you about. These are things I'm not going to talk to you about. What we decided to do this past year is on moving day, I had a parent meeting. I invited every parent of a player to stay and meet with us coaches just to say, hey, there's going to be a point that your son is going to call and say, I'm homesick, get the I-94 blues, all that kind of stuff. Don't let them leave. That's the biggest disservice. We only had one kid quit during that time because we had that support of the parents. They had the support of the parents. Now there was a couple who decided that football wasn't for them at the end of their first year. That's fine.
That's a different story.
Yep, absolutely. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but yes, the parent relationship's huge.
Yeah, I can remember when I was a GA up at Northern back in the 80s. What I was in charge of was watching the parking lot at night. I can remember watching a defensive line kid from Saginaw climb down a water spout like a drain thing at 280 pounds. And, I shoot him back to his room, but eventually he made it down across the bridge and found his way home. But that's
solid. That's solid.
Man. Everything, when you GA'd, you get all the fun jobs, man.
Oh, I have a story with guys, and that put me in my first like awkward position with players on a road trip one time, and it was interesting, man. I like, are you the 23-year-old guy that you're going to be looked at as a rat, but that's your job. You're a coach, right? That's where you started. That's the first time I felt like I was really
stuck in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I was up north, I GA'd for Coach Buck. And I don't know if you know Kyle at all, but Kyle worked for him, but his dad was hard. He's a hard man, good, honest guy, but busted your tails. And I lived up on the graduate floor of the dorm. And one day I just got ear-holed. I think my freshman scout team gathered up their quarters and returnables and went out and got a 6-pack of Bud Light and knocked on my door and left it in front of the door with a note that says, "Tomorrow will be better, Coach, but thanks for standing up for us." And I was like,
"Oh, look out for you."
They were looking out for me, man. They were looking out for me. So listen, Dusty, here's how we're going to wrap this up tonight. I appreciate you coming on. Should be, I'll try to get this thing up and running pretty quick. And if you send me your Twitter account, I'll put it within the the deal so you can see it, and we'll dress it up and have it all ready to go by probably the weekend. Does that sound good?
Sounds great, my man. I appreciate the
Awesome,
opportunity.
Dusty. Thanks for joining me on our maiden voyage.
All right, my man. If you ever need anything else, let me know.